Join me today as we talk about watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in June 2025, 36 years after its original release. This is the Geek Cabal channel. If you've not been here before, my name is Bobby. And today we're going to be talking about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And I was able to watch it theatrically a few days ago from here. It was myself and Sarah. And if you've seen some of the videos here on the channel, you know that I'm a pretty big movie fan. And that I enjoy watching older movies in theaters when the opportunity presents itself. This was put on by Fathom Events, which I'll try to link to down in the description. And by the time I get this up, I don't think it's going to be playing anymore, because usually the way they work is they'll have it up for like 3, maybe 4 days. Like some other movies they have upcoming, again, I'm recording this in about the middle of June 2025. So if you see this significantly later than this, then obviously the thing I'm about to say might not apply. But they run the Studio Ghibli movies. So there's 5 or 6 of those coming up. I think Clueless, its 30th anniversary is coming up. So it's going to be playing. And there's some others, and they constantly update. And there's another group, Iconic Events, Iconic Cinema, something like that. Those are the ones who put on the Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack that I talked about in a video around the time of the Indiana Comic Con. So I like going to watch these older movies. I'm kind of hopeful that Iconics will put some more anime films. That was actually one of our fans that I've mentioned before, Brian from Boston, was the one who sent me the link to that, and thank you, Brian, for that. And we had talked a little bit about, hey, wouldn't it be neat if such and such movies, and we named several, and it turns out like last year they did actually run about half of the ones we were talking about. So hopefully they'll run them again. So anyway, I'm not 100% certain why this movie was on, because it's not, usually they'll put it on like, they'll rerun movies like on a 10-year, on a multiple 10-year anniversary, or like the 25th anniversary. Like I said, Clueless is coming up on the 30th anniversary. This year was the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, and I went to go watch that earlier, and we talked about that on one of the podcast episodes. So this was 36 years ago, and I'm not sure. Now, it could have purely been for Father's Day weekend, because that is kind of an important point of the plot of this movie. But I'm not 100% certain. And this is, of the original 3 Indiana Jones movies, this is the one that I definitely saw in theaters when it originally came out. The other 2, if I did, I would not have been able to appreciate them, because it came out in 82, maybe 81. 81, 82 for Raiders, then 84 for Temple of Doom. And yeah, it would have been like 2 when the Temple of Doom came out. So probably wouldn't have appreciated actually seeing it in theaters. Now, I know I saw them before I watched this one. I had definitely seen them before, but it would have been at home. So I'm not going to go a whole lot into the ins and outs of the plot, because I'm assuming most of the people watching this, if you watch the other videos much, you've probably seen this movie. I'm going to talk about who's in it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the plot, but not the links I usually go to. I'm going to talk more about just some things I noticed, and just the overall experience of actually seeing it again in a theater. So, okay, I'll probably talk about the cast here first. So, obviously, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. Now, if somehow you've made it this far and don't know who Harrison Ford is, he also plays Han Solo in the Star Wars movies. Played Jack Ryan in 2 of those movies. Yeah. Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games. He would have been the second person to play Jack Ryan. Originally it was Alec Baldwin in Hunt for Red October. And then I think we're supposed to consider that one canon to the 2 that Harrison Ford is in, because James Earl Jones reprises his role. Then they kind of rebooted the series with Ben Affleck, and I don't know what they've done since then. So, and he's in all kinds of other movies. I mean, Harrison Ford. He's more recently been in the fourth Captain America movie as General Ross. Yeah, did a video about that too. You should check it out. I didn't think that was a bad movie. Got a lot of complaints. I thought it was okay. So, the other main character in the movie is played by Sean Connery. Plays Jones's dad in the movie. And for those of you who have not seen some of these movies that put on by Fathom Events, some of them have an introduction by Leonard Maltin. He's a film historian. He used to do, or probably still does, intros for Turner Classic Movies. And which, if you've never seen Turner Classic Movies, they have a person who does an intro at the very beginning, explains, the actors, a little bit of trivia about the movie, and the movie plays uninterrupted, no commercials. And then they kind of do a wrap-up at the end. So, Chad and I went to go watch Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee movie. And the Maltin had an intro to that, and there was an intro before The Wizard of Oz, and I watched that last year. That looked fantastic on the big screen, by the way. And then G.I. Joe the movie did not have an introduction by Leonard Maltin. Such is life. So anyway, the introduction that was in front of this, if I understood it correctly, it sounds like Sean Connery had already been cast, and that was one of the ways they were able to entice Harrison Ford to come back for the third film. Because the second movie didn't receive the same kind of same accolades and fanfare that Raiders received. So they wanted to kind of return to a formula closer to Raiders, more lighthearted, because Temple of Doom gets a little dark in points. And so they want to kind of return to that, and it sounds like they'd already cast Connery, and that was one of the ways they convinced Ford to come back, because when Connery is a legendary actor. And even though he plays his dad, I don't remember how far apart Maltin said their ages were, but it's less than 20 years. Connery's not that much older than Harrison Ford. He just, he just looks it, because at that point his beard had gone white. Now, if you don't know who Sean Connery is, first of all, shame on you. But second of all, he is probably best known as the original James Bond. And he is in what is my personal favorite Bond movie, which is Goldfinger. I do consider him the best Bond. And yes, it has a lot to do with the fact he's the first, he's the trendsetter, but he's exceptional. He's also in several other movies. I mean, the man has he's passed away now, had a very lengthy career. He is, let's see, aside from Bond, he was in the Highlander series, at least the first two movies, as Ramirez, where he is a man with a Scottish accent who is playing a man with a Spanish name who is actually a 2,000 some odd year old Egyptian. Don't try to figure it out. Oh, on top of all that, he's also either from the really distant past or an alien, depending on which take on Highlander 2 you want to go with. He's also in the movie Medicine Man, where he plays a cancer researcher I think he's in the Amazon. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I thought it was a good movie, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. I want to say Black Rain is the name of the movie he's in. Or it's Black Rain or Rising Sun. Don't remember. Plays a consultant, is a murderer at a Japanese firm in, I'm going to say San Francisco, but I've also seen this one too. Wesley Snipes is also in that one. Cary Tagawa. In case you don't know, Cary Tagawa is the man who played Shang Tsung in the first Mortal Kombat movie. Probably his best known role, but he's in a bunch of movies. Then, I don't know, he's in Finding Forrester, where he's a retired writer. Kind of goes up against F. Murray Abraham at one point in a scathing rebuke, where he's teaching I shouldn't say teaching, he's encouraging a younger gentleman, has a promising writing career ahead of him. That's a pretty good movie too. Then it's in just in all kinds of things. And I think, if I recall correctly, he was originally asked to play, I think, Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, but he said he just couldn't quite grasp the concept. Meanwhile, he's in movies like Zardoz. So, anyway, the point is he has a very long and storied career. Oh, also, as I mentioned earlier, he's in The Hunt for Red October. He's Captain Ramis, where he doesn't even try to hide his Scottish accent playing a Russian sea captain. But, you know, who cares? He's great in the role. Also, Alec Baldwin does a spot-on impression of him, like, towards the end of the movie. It's pretty good. Alec Baldwin's modern issues notwithstanding, I do think he's a good actor. So, then we also have Denholm Elliott, who plays Marcus Brody. Now, he played Brody in Raiders also, but he has a greatly expanded role here, and again, that's part of the whole trying to keep the movie a little more lighthearted. And outside of that, the only other thing I ever saw him in was Trading Places. I'm sure I've seen him someplace else, but in Trading Places, he is the butler for Winthorpe, who is Dan Aykroyd's character, and then Valentine, who is Eddie Murphy's character. They literally are trade places, not willingly. And he's kind of caught up in the middle because he works for the Duke brothers. Then we have John Rhys Davies, who plays Sala, who also played Sala in Raiders, and then reprised the role in The Dial of Destiny. And he, probably his best known role outside of Sala would be as Gimli in Lord of the Rings. He also does Treebeard's voice, but he's physically in the role of Gimli. He is not short. I've met him in person. Chris and I have a picture taken with him. Tried to get his autograph at Gen Con, like the first or second year it was in Indianapolis, and the autographs were free because it was like because Gen Con was paying the stars. But the autograph thing never really took off at Gen Con. Within about 5-6 years, the whole autograph thing really dried up. But we were like, his plane was late or something, and they had to cut the line at a certain point. Wouldn't let us get in line. And then about 5 years ago, at Comic-Con in Indianapolis, we were able to get our picture taken with him. So, yeah. Like I said, not short. It's all trick photography as far as Gimli. But he's in all kinds of other things. As near as I can tell, he's kind of like Nicolas Cage. I don't think he actually turns down any roles. And that's not a slam against him. Like, you know, I mean, he, brings I guess a gravitas to roles. He was in Sliders, for instance, a TV show about interdimensional hopping, where they're like, introduced a lot of people to the concept of the multiverse. I think he played the Kingpin in a TV Hulk movie, if I remember right, that also had Daredevil. That might have been the same one with Thor, but I don't remember. This is the Bill Bixby Hulk, to be clear, and Lou Ferrigno is the Hulk. He's also in the Dungeon Siege movie. I think he's a villain in one of the later Anaconda sequels. I mean, he's all over the place. Does video games. I know he's in the video game Dune 2000. I think he's for House Atreides, but it's been a long time since I played the game. He's one of these actors that he's everywhere. Then we have Julian Glover as Donovan. Now, the main reason I mention him, aside from the fact that he's the main villain in the movie, he also plays General Veers in The Empire Strikes Back.
Prepare to target the main generator.
It's one of the only Imperials that we actually don't see die on screen, and he manages to actually be on Vader's good side through most of as near as I can tell through the movie. And also we have another Empire Strikes Back alumni here in the cast of Michael. Oh, I should really start writing better. Sheard. Gotta hope I spelled that right and pronouncing that right. In this movie, he plays the Führer, Hitler, because at one point they go to a book burning rally in Berlin, and he's in there. He plays Admiral Ozzel in The Empire Strikes Back, best known for failing Vader for the last time and then having Vader kill him in a Zoom call.
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral. You aren't the man now, Admiral Piet.
And promoting Captain Piet to Admiral Piet. Admiral Piet being a guy who survives in Return of the Jedi, then gets killed when a Renee wing smashes through the bridge of the Executor. Then we have River Phoenix, who plays young Indy at the very beginning of the movie. River Phoenix unfortunately died outside of a nightclub in L.A. I think it's in L.A. I've only seen a couple things with him in it. Sneakers, which is a movie about people who they're kind of tech spies for hire. It's him, Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier, I think Dan Aykroyd. No one else has seen it. And it's going to come to me here in a minute who the villain is. Wow. I can picture him. He played Gandhi. Yeah, I can't think of his name. Got to put it like somewhere here when they're in editing or something. That's going to bother me. He was also in the movie Stand By Me. A group of kids set off to go see a dead body and maybe get into a knife fight with Kiefer Sutherland, who also wants to show people the body. I don't know. Written by Stephen King. It's more about growing up than the whole seeing the body thing. And then we also have honorable mention to a man named Pat Roach. He's listed as one of the Gestapo characters, but I don't recall him. I don't know who he is in this movie. I know him from several other movies. That's why I mentioned him. For instance, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he's the large German mechanic that fistfights Indy until he gets chopped up by a propeller blade on the German plane. He's also in the Temple of Doom as the very large head guard in the underground mine until he gets crushed by a steamroller. So in the other two Jones movies, he gets the most gruesome death of both movies. So I don't know who he is here because no one got a super gruesome death like that. And then in Conan the Destroyer, whenever Conan is fighting, I believe it's Tothamon, who has the mirrored room where all of his reflections all coalesce into a single like monstrous being, the man-ape. He's the man-ape. So yeah, this guy's in a bunch of other things like that. And then also just worth noting, at the beginning of the movie, there's a guy who in the credits is listed as Fedora. He dresses like Jones dresses later. From what I've read, that's supposed to be Abner Ravenwood. I don't know why they didn't bother to call him that in the movie or credits. There was a reason. I know I've read it, but it's years ago. But he's supposed to be Marion's dad, the guy who taught Indy a lot of stuff that he knows. That's why Indy dresses like him. That's supposed to be the connection. I don't know why they didn't bother to put that in there. I guess because Marion's not in the movie, because instead Indy's after Ilsa. So, anyway, that's the cast. So the movie itself still looks really good. Obviously, sounds good. All the technicals are really good. There's a few scenes where you can tell that it's a blue or green screen, like whenever Indy and Jones, whenever Ford and Connery are in the biplane, you can tell that it's against the blue screen because the plane in the background don't quite match up, especially if you were alive from the transition into green screen technology. Like you began, your eye began to know what to look for to notice the transition. And so there's a scene like that, the scene where Indy has to take the leap of faith. That scene to me always looked sketchy, even back in 1989, and it still looks sketchy now. Those are the only, I think those are the only two scenes off the top of my head that look a little, but they always looked that way. It's not a matter of, technology's moved on, now it looks like crap. No, it was sketchy then, it's sketchy now. So, but that doesn't detract from the movie in any way. John Williams' score is definitely on point. And there's a few little things I noticed this time, because it's been a while since I watched the movie. I am still not sure exactly where Ilsa's loyalties truly lie in this movie, because I think she's just an opportunist. Because you see that she's more than willing, she's on the German side. I mean, she's German, And so she seems to be more than willing to go along with the Germans. But then you see her in Berlin, where they're having the big book burning, and you can see that she's crying whenever it's happening. So, on some level, her character knows that this is just like sheer ignorance on display. And as a learned person, I'm sure it hurts to watch that. But, that's what she's aligned with. And then, after that, Jones confronts her, and I guess I never really appreciated the interplay of their lines at this point, because he's after his father's diary, because it's got all the clues they're going to need to get past the traps in the temple where the Grail is. And he takes the book from her, and he's basically like, well, I didn't want to see it burned like all these other books. And she's like, I'm going to paraphrase here. And she's like, would you really, do you think so little, would you think I'm really down for that? And he's like, who gives a damn what you think? Like, when it mattered, you stood to be counted with them. You're one of them. And he grabs her by the throat and basically tells her, like, look, you're trash. Like, all I have to do is squeeze and I will kill you. And I don't know why I'm not doing it. And she points out that, like, all I have to do is scream to blow your cover. And she's not doing that. She's letting him leave with the diary. So, I always thought that was kind of meant to be more like a detente, like, hey, both of us can screw the other one here, but we're not. And I think it was more a matter of Jones was showing that he does care for her on some level, because he could just kill her. As far as he's concerned, as far as he's concerned, she's just another Nazi. It's not going to faze him to kill her. And she's, showing that she could blow his cover right here and now and end their whole quest real quickly, but she's not going to. And she's doing that because she likes him. At least that's my read of that. But yeah, and then, like, at the end, I think she intentionally tricks Donovan into drinking from the wrong cup. Because whenever he goes to drink from it, it cuts to her at one point. She has a very mischievous look on her face. And then he looks at her and has one that looks like, oh, Jesus. Like, I think he knows that she intentionally screwed Donovan. Because Donovan has no idea what to look for as far as the Grail. Because there's a room full of cups he's got to choose. And he must choose wisely. Spoiler alert, he did not. Or, spoiler alert,
he chose poorly.
So it killed him, because the Grail brings death to those who don't believe, and if you choose poorly. So yeah, and in the end she tried to take the Grail, Indy tried to save her, but she went for the cup, and it ended her. And then Indy's put in the exact same position, and it's supposed to show his growth as a character as well as his dad, because his dad's life obsession has been the Grail. It is literally within his son's grasp, but he tells him to let it go.
Let it go.
Because Jones Sr. has realized that the here and now is what is important, because he's spent this adventure with his son, and there's a moment where he thinks he's lost him, because he's fighting the main SS commander on top of a tank, and the tank goes over a cliff, and they think that Junior went over the cliff with it, and he's sitting there and he's telling Marcus,
I've lost him, and I never told him anything. 5 minutes would have been enough.
And it hits him that I think that's the moment that he realizes he could lose his son at any moment, and he needs to actually spend time with him, do things with him, because they've had a very estranged relationship, from what you can tell in the movie. And so whenever Indiana's sitting there hanging from the cliff, and the Grail's literally just right beyond his reach, but to try to reach for it, he's going to have to pull away, and Senior's not going to be able to hold him. And Senior tells him, he's like, just let it go, Indiana. He's like, it's just a thing, just let it go. And hearing his dad say that, realizing what it means to his dad, if he's willing to just let it go, then why should he go after it? If it doesn't mean as much to the man who spent his life pursuing it, then why is he going to risk his life for it? And that's why at the end of the movie, he asks his dad, what he found, and he says illumination, because it illuminated what was important in life to him, or what should have been all this time. It's a touching moment. Then, a lot of the movies built around the interplay. Well, I don't say a lot, because it's a while before we're introduced to Senior. You're at least a third of the way into the movie before we meet him, if not halfway. Turns out they both slept with Elsa. That's some joke-worthy material there, because Indiana can't believe his dad slept with her, because he's like, I can't believe you. Like, you're old enough to be her. If he starts to say father, he says, you're old enough to be her grandfather. And Connery's like, I was human as the next man, which Ford points out, like, I was the next man. He's like, quite right. But yeah, it's quite humorous. It's one of those, like, I'm sure in real life that'd be very squeak-worthy, but for the purposes of the film, it's very humorous. And there's a lot of lighthearted stuff like that in the movie. For a movie that features Nazis, it's quite funny. It's not a comedy, it doesn't devolve as the fourth and fifth movies do at various points, but it's lighthearted. It's very entertaining. If you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know that there's serious moments, but also it's hokey adventure. So yeah, overall, to me, The Last Crusade is tied with Raiders for the best of the series. Then I put the Temple of Doom, and then I put 4 and 5 tied for last. Now, I've said this, Jim and I talked about this in other movies. I don't hate 4 and 5. This is not like a Star Wars sequel situation to me. I think 4 and 5 are okay movies. I think 4 is a little bit better than 5, actually. But they're not as good as the others. You can tell there's some parts that just don't quite work. But I didn't have any trouble with aliens or time travel. In a series that Indiana has already dealt with the Ark of the Covenant, the Shankara stones channeling the power of Shiva, and the Holy Grail. So in their universe, both Christianity and Hinduism are very real. Telling me that aliens and time travel exist? Okay. That's not that hard to believe at that point. I don't know why everyone else has problems with it. And like I said, people are like, oh, he really survived the nuclear blast in the fridge. As far as I'm concerned, Jones was protecting the fridge, not the other way around. Again, Jones survived being exposed to the contents of the Ark of the Covenant. He channeled the power of Shiva through the Shankara stones to defeat Molaram and Kali. He drank from the Holy Grail. Honestly, if a bullet would have bounced off of him in 4 or 5 with no explanation, I would have been fine with it. The guy should basically be immortal at this point. And, if there's some one-off thing that he just, randomly survives, that's why. He's literally channeled divine power on multiple occasions. That's just the way it works. So, yeah. Like I said, overall, I really liked The Last Crusade. Had it been the final movie in the series, would have been a perfect ending. As is, it's a nice halfway point. Like I said, I'm not as big a fan of 4 and 5, but I don't hate them. I will watch them again at some point, unlike the sequel trilogy, which I will only watch for research purposes for this channel, probably. So yeah, I think it was very worthwhile. Now, if I can just catch Raiders and the Temple of Doom in a theater, I'll be all set. I'll have seen all 5 of them in theaters. But yeah, I don't know what anniversaries I've been looking at there. So, kind of hope to see the original trilogy for Star Wars in theaters at some point too. So I watched the special editions when they came out in the 90s. So, I have technically seen all of them, but it'd be nice to see them again. I still don't understand why Disney doesn't put those and the Jones movies, just pick a month and be like, all right, the original 3 Star Wars movies, they're going to be in theaters through the month of May. The Indiana Jones movies, I don't know, month of August, whatever. Just pick one. Be interesting to see if a theater would actually run them in chronological order, because for those of you that don't know, if you pay attention, the Temple of Doom actually takes place before Raiders. The Temple of Doom is the first movie, even though it's the second chronological release order. In terms of when they take place, it actually takes place before Raiders. And I think it's that way to explain why Jones isn't with Marion and why he's very skeptical of everything. Because after surviving the Ark of the Covenant, he shouldn't be overly skeptical. Which does remind me of my favorite shout-out joke, whatever you want to call it, in this movie is whenever Ilsa and Jones go into the catacombs underneath the library in Venice, and they get to the section where the Christians clearly made it, and there's a painting on the wall of the Ark of the Covenant, and Ilsa's like, "What's that?" He's like, "That's the Ark of the Covenant." She's like, "You sure?" He's like, "Pretty sure." It's like, yeah, first-hand experience. But yeah, if you've somehow never seen these movies, and you like other movies I've talked about here on the channel, you definitely owe it to yourself to watch these. The first 3 are definitely 8s or 9s. Okay, Raiders and The Last Crusade are near perfect movies. Temple of Doom is a little lesser, but not like Highlander 2 lesser. We're talking like 10% less than 1 and 3. Product of its time, I'll give it that, but it's definitely worth watching. And 4 and 5, they're not trash. Okay, they're 6.5, probably. You know, they're watchable. Definitely watch them after the other 3, though. So you know they will feel lesser, but you'll see why people were so invested. Yeah, and in case I didn't mention, in case you don't know, Steven Spielberg directed the first 3. I think directed the 4th one, but I think someone else directed the 5th one, and George Lucas is a producer on them. So this is where, and George and Steven Spielberg were friends, and this is where they collaborated. And these movies are based on old what they called serials that used to play in theaters, like just action adventure kind of things. And so you know they're always meant to be lighthearted and everything. So, but they're very entertaining. So yeah. I'm definitely rambling at this point, folks, so I think I'm going to cut it off here. If you're presented with the opportunity to see these movies in theaters, you definitely should, because that is where they can truly be appreciated. And these are the kind of movies that you can appreciate in theaters. These aren't like comedies where, yes, there is an element, there, like with a comedy, it's the joy of seeing it with other people and laughing along with other people. You know, it's not the technical aspects. These movies, it's the technical aspects. Seeing it on the big screen, the sound, all that coming together. You know, same thing with Star Wars. It's meant to be enjoyed on the big screen. They're not made for the small screen, except for the Disney Plus shows, which I would argue some of those should have been made for the big screen. But yeah, if you ever get the chance, definitely worthwhile. Keep an eye on Fathom Events, and I will try to make posts, you know, for upcoming movies like this that are coming up. Because obviously I probably won't be able to talk about them until after I watch them, at which point they'll probably be out of theaters again. So keep an eye on our posts here on the channel. I try to post things like that whenever I can. But yeah, that's all I've got for this one, folks. So let me know down in the comments what you think of the Jones movies. Did you make it to go watch this one while it was out? If the opportunity presents itself, you're going to watch the others ever? What do you think of 4 and 5? You know, where do you place them in order? Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting would help us grow the channel. We always appreciate it. Subscribing, obviously, that's the name of the game here on YouTube. But yeah, that's all I've got. So I will be seeing you folks later.